Hi everyone, welcome in. My name's Samantha Keith and I'm the therapist that will be working with your family. I received a referral from the psychiatrist that Rose saw while she was at the inpatient facility. So it's my understanding that you're all here today to talk about the conflict that has arisen within the family after Rose's recent suicide attempt. So I want to create a safe place for you all. I'd like to talk to you all together. I'd like to talk to you individually or in pairs. So Rose and Mom and Dad and Alex, each of you together and apart. So please keep in mind that what's said in session stays in session. However, I am a mandated reporter, so Rose and Alex, I will always keep whatever you say during our session confidential. But if you report any abuse or neglect, Mom and Dad, not saying that those things are happening at all, but if they would tell me those things or say that they had feelings of wanting to harm themselves or someone else, I would have to report that. But other than that, whatever we talk about during our session stays in our session. So I want to hear from each of you about why you feel we're here today. Even though I received a referral with information on it, I'd like to talk to all of you individually and hear in your own words what you feel has been going on with both you and your family. So Rose, tell me a little bit about why you feel like you're here today. Like, I know a little bit about how you've had some depression and the recent suicide attempt, but what's been going on with you? So over a year, you've been feeling depressed and wanting a counselor. So, okay. So just feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you don't really have anybody. That must be very lonely. Well, I'm glad you're here. I hope that I can be a person that you feel comfortable talking to, and over time, by participating in these sessions, that you feel like your own family supports you, that you feel like they're in your corner, and that there's someone outside of our professional that you can go to on a day, and just on a day you may be struggling and just be like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit more sad than usual. It's great to have professionals that surround you and can be supportive. It's even better to have a family support system that can kind of lift you up on days that are very difficult and challenging. So I hope through our sessions we can help you get that. Mom, what about you? Tell me a little bit about how you feel about everything's going on. It's my understanding that this isn't your first experience in dealing with a suicide attempt or depression with someone you love and care about. Your father, okay. And how long ago was that? About 10 years. Okay, so this must be very scary for you and possibly bringing up a lot of old feelings and emotions about that experience. Absolutely. Yeah, guilt, I feel like, is a common emotion in parents whose children have attempted suicide. So you're definitely not alone in those feelings. I thank you for being here. I'd love to explore that feeling with guilt, and just let you know you're not alone in that, and that you have no reason to feel guilty, that you're here for you, your daughter, and your family. Great. Dad, what about you? So from what I understand, you have a disability that came from a work injury? Oh, wow. Okay. So are you retired now from that? Kinda? Okay. That must be really hard. Yeah. I'm wondering can you tell me a little bit more maybe about your feelings about the accident? That's okay. You don't have to. We can kind of ease into that. I know I'm a stranger to all of you, and I'm asking you to be vulnerable about things that may make you uncomfortable. That's okay. We can get through this together. I'm wondering if there may be a little bit of a self-worth thing there, that you're not being able to do the things that you normally would do, and that's a little bit challenging. Is that kind of what's been going on? A little bit? Okay, well, thank you for sharing as much as you feel comfortable. Okay. Maybe causing some arguments. Okay, between you and Mom. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that you guys have arguments. We can definitely get into that, talk about what that looks like, what we're arguing about, and things like that. Awesome. Great. Alex, I don't want you to feel left out here. So, how have you been feeling? That must be very scary to find your sister that way, to kind of see her be in such like a dark place, feeling so down. Okay. Now, you sound a little bit angry. Do you feel comfortable telling me a little bit about why you seem a little mad? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, from what I hear, you seem scared, for one. That I'm sure that was a very scary time, and two, a little bit feeling like she was gonna leave you. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like those feelings are totally valid. I think we can explore those deeper. So before we get into talking anymore, guys, I want to thank you all for sharing what you have already. I'd like to thank you all for meeting with me today. It's very nice to meet each of you. I look forward to getting to know you all better through these sessions. And I want to be honest, I recognize that therapy is uncomfortable and it's challenging. It requires a level of vulnerability and honesty. These are not easy feelings to express, being vulnerable, especially around others, but I appreciate you all being here and being present and just making an effort. Another thing I think it's important to know is I'm not here to pick sides or prove that someone's point of view is more correct than someone else's. So Mom, I'll never be like, you know what, you're right and Dad's wrong. Or Dad, I'll never be like, yeah, you know, right, in that argument you were right. That's not what this is about. Everyone in this room is on the same team. So we're all here because we want the situation to improve and we want the situation to get better, and I would love to help you all with that. So I want you all to feel like we're here for a purpose and that we're not just talking about things that are irrelevant. So I want to talk about setting some goals. So after talking with each of you and kind of feeling out the situation, I think communication would be a good goal for everyone. Does that sound good? Yeah, we can all agree that our communication skills are a little bit rough. That's okay. Everyone struggles with communication. It can be very difficult to look someone in the face and be like, I feel this way because. That can be challenging, especially when you're mad or upset or sad. So through our sessions, another thing I would like to do is provide you all with some psychoeducation on depression and anger, just so that everyone has an understanding of what these things are and how they are affecting the other people in your family. Depression and anger seem to be two things that are kind of running deep in everyone here. So just understanding each other may lead to more meaningful conversations. So Mom and Dad, I hear you guys beginning to argue a little bit. So I recognize this is a difficult time, and we're talking about some very sensitive topics. I get that you guys are both upset right now, but it sounds like you're arguing without really hearing what the other person is saying. This is common. It's easy to get swept up in how you're feeling, and just wanting to get your point across. So if you guys could bear with me for a minute, I'd like to do this little exercise. Mom, I want you to go first. I want you to explain why you're upset, but I want you to do it without using words that cast blame. So nothing like, when you don't do the dishes, it makes me crazy. Instead, I want you to take some ownership of your feelings and use I statements and explain the way you feel, why you feel the way you do. So, I feel upset when you don't help me because it makes me feel underappreciated. Make sense? Okay. And Dad, while she's doing that, I want you to really listen. And then when she's done talking, I want you, in your own words, to tell her how you understand and how you heard what you heard she was feeling. And then you guys are going to switch. Sound good? Okay. So guys, we're wrapping up to the end of our session. So before we completely wrap up and I let you guys go, I want you all to know that you did a great job. I know it's really intimidating meeting a stranger, opening up about all these things, being very vulnerable, but you all did amazing. I appreciate it. I also want to just take a minute and tell you guys how resilient I think you all are. You're all very strong in your own ways. You've all been through so much, both separately and as a family unit. And I just don't think you guys realize how strong you are. And I want you to kind of hold on to that and remember that moving forward. You've all been through something difficult and traumatic, but you're here and you're trying to improve and you're trying to make things better and you're making an effort, and I appreciate that so much. Before you go, the last thing I want to go over, I'm going to give you all a copy of Fair Fighting Rules. So for the next week, before we see each other again, if an argument arises, kind of like it did today in session, Mom and Dad, I want you to try and follow these Fair Fighting Rules. So I'll go over them real quick. So there are 9 of them. So first one, before you're arguing, ask yourself why you feel upset. Because if we're arguing and we don't know why we're upset, what's the argument even about? 2, only discuss one topic at a time. So if you start fighting about someone that didn't do the dishes, it can't turn into something else. So it can't turn into, you're the reason why we're going to therapy. So one topic at a time. No degrading language, no swearing, no calling names. That's just hurtful. It's easy to do when we're in an argument, we're in our feelings, and we kind of slip into that. Please try and avoid it. Number 4, express your feelings with words. Like, I feel hurt when you tell me to shut up. Use I statements as much as you can. Take ownership of your feelings, okay? Number 5, take turns speaking. So you can't hear each other if you're talking over each other. 6, no stonewalling. So it's easy to just shut down. Don't just ignore each other or refuse to talk to each other. That doesn't resolve the issue. It just kind of makes it last longer. 7, no yelling. It doesn't help. It may feel good in the moment, but then you just start progressing. Yelling can lead to one thing and then another. It just doesn't make the problem go away any faster. 8, take a time out if you need it. If you're arguing and it's overwhelming, step away. Come back. Talk about it when you're calmer. Lastly, attempt to come to a compromise or an understanding. That one is just easy. You don't want to go to bed angry. You all recognize how much you love each other at the end of the day. I don't expect you all not to argue. That's not at all realistic. However, I want to give you as many tools as possible, like the Fair Fighting Rules, so that we can communicate and argue in a healthy way. So if it's possible, keep track of an argument that happens. Let's talk about what it happened over, what happened right before, what happened after. Were you able to follow these rules? If not, how far did you get? What happened? Where did you lose it? And we'll talk about it more next week. But I thank you all for coming in again today, and I'll see you during our next session.